on with us for the next couple hours. We're on Zone TV.
This is not Ding Dong.
99 problems and
Ding
Twitch
Dong
ain't one. No, you can join us there. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Some people used to call it Periscope. Hey, Lucas, you're young. There's no more Periscope, is there? Didn't that die?
It is the artist formerly known as Periscope.
Okay, we got it. Somebody needs to scratch. I even know that. I'm going to scratch through Periscope on this.
Is it finally time for me to sell my stock in Periscope? No. Bad decision on my part.
You just loaded up on Periscope stock. Boy, Blaine came in today and told me I got a heck of a deal on some Periscope stock.
Yeah. Well, I'm debating on Peacock now. Should I? I saw Notre Dame is now showing their games in there, so maybe should I buy or should I sell? Because it's just moving slowly like a turtle, actually.
Hey, man, we're about to see the power of the Golden Dome right here, not because what Blaine's talking about. And, yes, we'll talk about Titans. We'll talk about everything. But if you want to look into your future as a sports media consumer, so Notre Dame and Toledo is not going to be on – now, no, if they're playing Michigan –
Stop that. Talk about Toledo. I'm in the MAC.
I know. Brett Kern, Toledo, the king of Toledo. I'm Sunbelt. Trust me, I'm not taking a shot. If they were playing Michigan, no, that rascal would be on NBC. They're opening against Toledo. They're going to stream it on Peacock. Now, you got the TV with the apps, and you can just watch Peacock on your TV. You're some dude living in the sticks. You don't have what are you going to do if you love Notre Dame? They want to see how well this thing streams. Now, think about this. Here we go. We're unscripted.
Yeah.
We're just here we go.
Like always.
Okay, here we go. When the last round of realignment happened and everybody moved up or moved on or went to a different place, they judged everything by the size of the TV market. Remember that?
Yeah.
We need a foothold in Florida. Let's get this team. Hey, we need Dallas. Let's get North Texas in this. We need Nashville. We can get Middle Tennessee and, heck, even Western's an hour away. It was all based on TV markets. So if you were in a non-consequential TV market, like the team from my school, people just moved on without you.
Or Muncie, yeah.
Muncie, Indiana, Ball State, Arkansas State. Phones weren't ringing because not big TV markets. And there were some other things that went into it, but a lot of it was just to get eyeballs and TV markets. And I remember having somebody on my show at the time. This was years ago. I was doing 3 hours a day by myself in Arkansas. God help me. And I was just anyway.
Well, I saved you. No.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Yeah, right.
That goes back a few years, but yes, the hand came down and pulled me up out of the pit. But I remember having a TV guy on at the time and asking him. He said, "This is all based on TV eyeballs." And I said, "Look, because North Texas was in the Sun Belt," and I said, "Ain't nobody in Dallas watching North Texas on TV." I'll never forget the guy said, "It doesn't matter. It's for cable subscriptions. It's just how many TV sets with a cable box are tied to them within viewing area of that school. That's the whole thing." And I was like, okay, all right, well, okay. Well, streaming is the thing that keeps getting thrown around now. So Notre Dame is like, okay, let's do this. See how many y'all watch again. It's like you said, it's on Peacock. Mm-hmm. Let's see how many people watch the Fighting Irish on Peacock against Toledo. Again, no shade on Toledo, but it's a game that they're paying, $1.5 million to win. Let's see how many people stream this sucker. This is a fascinating experience, and there's already some of the national college reporters, Blaine, who are kind of framing it that way, like this is them showing this is what we can do. So are they trying to show this off for the Big Ten to stay in the ACC but maybe compete full time, or is this just them saying, screw it, we'll go alone?
We'll solo.
We'll
at least for a year just to see how it looks.
Yep.
They think they got enough time to do it. If not, they'll roll by themselves. And the brand of Notre Dame, we all know is pretty big. I grew up in Indiana. And I grew up watching Notre Dame football each and every week. Yeah. Not IU. Sorry, Buff. not IU. Not IU. Notre Dame. No doubt. It rules the state of Indiana for sure when it comes to football.
And you think about it. Now, they've competed. They've made the playoff, and then they just get hammered.
Every year.
Just slaughtered like a roadkill. But younger people, guy who's 20, 25, even 30, and you're listening to the show, you're like, why do you guys talk about Notre Dame like that? Mm-hmm. You just have to understand. It's the same guy who's like, why would the SEC get Texas? I don't get it. There's power in certain brands.
Yeah.
And even if they haven't won big in your lifetime, you're 20, you're 25, you say, I don't get it. Those brands, their dominance, and you could take that Longhorn logo anywhere in the world and say, what is this? And somebody go, Texas Longhorns. You could just take a picture of a golden helmet anywhere in the globe.
And they would say Cathedral High School. My high school there in Indianapolis.
They'd say, that's where Woody went to school.
They probably would.
But then they would say also Notre Dame wears something similar to that too.
You know, an Olympic champion or, whatever.
Jack Doyle of the Colts. Titans
no
killer Jack Doyle.
Yeah, running the 1500 this year in the Olympics. I think he won. His name is Hucker.
It's what? Is he the Titans kicker?
No. This guy runs track. This guy runs track for Cathedral.
Well, my man Blucker is no longer a power couple because Blake Hallbill is gone.
So is Sam Ficken going to get some of us in trouble this fall?
Oh, if we combine Ficken,
wait.
If we combine Ficken and Tucker,
his name?
Yes.
Who?
Ficken. Ficken.
Ficken.
Sam Ficken.
Yeah, I can't combine that.
Freaking Ficken.
Yeah, I can't combine Ficken and Tucker because I would be be off the microphone.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Ficken. I will say if he misses, I don't know what'll happen to lose a game. I may lose it.
Yeah, it's like the time I was trying to say Butch, please, only I didn't say Butch.
Right, exactly. That would happen to me for sure.
Hey man, well,
they're doing all right now though. I mean, what is he? You're
I'm keeping up with the math. Yes,
analyst.
And literally, I couldn't count earlier 6 and 8 together.
I was there and I can't even count, so I don't know how many they kicked.
So yesterday, all reports said Ficken was 6 of 6, and so was Tucker McCann. So today, per all reports, and I've seen it from multiple people, so I'll just credit it to everybody who was there. Sam Ficken, 7 of 8. Ooh. So he's made 13 of 14 in 2 days.
Yeah, he's number 4.
And Tucker McCann has made 12 of 14 in 2 days.
He's number 7.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to identify which one was kicking. That's why I bring that up because I didn't know who was who since it was my first day. And they actually both looked pretty good, but, I guess Ficken was a little bit better.
At least Ficken, I wrote this down days ago. I don't have it in front of me anymore. He's kicked in like some games each of the last 4 years for somebody.
I remember, he was with the Jets last year. I think they picked him up there late too, but I'm hoping the kicking won't be an issue and we can kind of move on to maybe, like a guy like Brady Breeze learn how to practice, a la like the Hitman. Ooh, he lit somebody up and I was out there and I missed it.
What?
I am so mad. Yeah, I got there right after it happened. It sounds like Brady Breeze got kicked out. Like, when did this happen?
Young safety, hitting everything that moves. Did that remind you of anybody?
Not at all. Not at all. I cannot relate to that guy. No, I felt really bad because, it probably was just a ding-dong play, where he was just, got there. He didn't go for the ball and got caught in the moment. And I guess they threw him out of practice. I think he hit Dez. I'm not sure. I think Dez is okay and everything else. Nobody got injured, thankfully. But you got to learn how to practice with your teammates without actually potentially hurting not only them. I think it resonated with me when the Coach Fishbone said, we not only don't want you to hurt somebody else, but we don't want you to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
And, so then I stopped hitting people and going for an interception, and I land dislocate my shoulder, and then, I hurt myself. See, I would have went for the hit instead of the interception next time I was out there. So I had, dislocated shoulder.
You learned a valuable lesson. Just keep hitting other people.
Yeah, I did.
There's no reason.
I'm better off if I'm dislocated. I might as well, get a reward there.
Did you do the thing like in Lethal Weapon where like you ran into a pole or something and knocked it back in?
No, I did not.
No,
I did not. I wish I would have, but no. That was more so at the Senior Bowl when I ran into the pole guarding Quadri.
But you told me you ran faster than you'd ever run in your life.
I did, yeah. And Quadri said he had never seen me run that fast either. He said he just knew he had me. I said, hey, man, those bow-legged losers, I got on my horse and I got to riding. I couldn't stop.
All the way into the goalpost.
And you know what it felt like? It felt like when you're on, I've been on this too. You have skis on and you're going down that big boy mountain and you realize, I have no control. And I flew into a tree there, so I just felt like it was the same run into a goalpost at the Senior Bowl. But all jokes aside, I mean, everybody's fine. Brady Breeze will be okay. He'll be back in practice and everything else.
Mike Vrabel even talked about that after practice, about Brady Breeze hitting Dez Fitzpatrick and getting shown the door.
Yeah, we just have to be smarter than that. I mean, the ball's in the air, the receivers on the air, just put his shoulder into the guy. I mean, he saw the unfortunate situation yesterday in Carolina. And I get it to a certain degree. I do. I get it that guys are, this is their livelihood, man. These guys are trying to make this team and trying to find a role for themselves and stand out. And then it's just very important and very critical that a part of that we learn how to practice. We have to come out here. We have to practice against each other and compete. Stay up, stay away from the quarterback. We're not cutting anybody. We're not, taking any cheap shots on anybody. So, Brady's a young player. Hopefully he can learn from it, and we can learn from not getting anybody injured, and we can move on.
Yeah, I've told you the first time I remember going to NFL practice, the first time that pads came on and all the defensive guys looked like lions with meat getting thrown to them. Mm-hmm. The other thing I remember from going to NFL practices was everyone yelling, "Stay up," all the time. Yeah. Everyone yelling, because I'd never been to a football practice, and I'd been to a lot of college practices. I never remember people yelling, "Stay up, stay up."
They definitely didn't do that in my college.
No.
They're saying stay up because they don't want anybody accidentally getting rolled over, and it's also another signal to stop engagement.
Right.
Immediately, because you get into the battle, your one-on-one battles, and sometimes you realize, I'm not in a game, I'm in practice. Especially early on when everybody is excited, pads are on, you're popping. Now you get to see, hey, I would have controlled you here. You didn't win this, rep. So all those things going, especially in the trenches. So that's where you're trying to control it. When you guys are out in the open field, as skilled guys, you got to know when to let it go. And that's what I would used to hate. That's my issue. So somebody go catch a post route. Oh, well, I would have come across and tattooed him right in his neck. Meanwhile, I let him catch the ball and just run by him. Mm. And everybody, he caught a great post route on B Bizzle for Shizzle the Hitman. And I go, no, that did not happen. That would have never happened. Right. But that's the whole talk of the next day in the paper about, somebody catching the deep ball on Bishop. I'm like, he wouldn't even caught that ball. So that's how you get defensive players, what they call now, lit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would have been lit. And it wouldn't have been from no fish grease. It would have been just so natural. I'm about to show you he wouldn't have caught that ball.
Okay, here we go. About to be no balls caught.
That's exactly
My
what
man
happened.
Catch no balls.
You got to remember now, a lot of these football players now got a couple loose screws, and a lot of it has to do with they are ultimate competitors. And that's why Vrabel said what he said when Breeze hit him. He says, I completely understand, but we can't do that. Right? Because he's been there before.
He's been there.
Every person has been there to the moment where you say, up, stop. You got to stop yourself, especially at practice.
Rookie on rookie crime right there.
Yeah, I know.
So it was Dez, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know what Breeze was saying? I was getting you back. You kind of got molded in that first tackling drill the other day.
Yep.
He kind of slipped, but you got him. So I was just getting you back because we stick together. We're all part of this draft class, but you're on offense. I'm on defense.
Yeah, Molden did a thing where he grabbed his foot as it went over his head and tackled him. I saw a video for that.
By all means, get him down.
Get him down.
Yeah.
It's like the time the guy hit me so hard he knocked me out and he tripped over my face mask. And when I woke up, they said, you made the tackle.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? In the same sense, that same thing happened to me, Mickey, except by Jamal Lewis.
My guy's name was Brian White, not the singer.
Oh, I think a lot of people know him.
A lot of people know Austin Stanley from A to Z Sports. He's been at practice. He's going to give us the lowdown on everything, maybe even this hit from Breeze on his fellow rookie, Austin Stanley, coming up next on Blaine and Mickey.
Somebody cooking?
Hear every Titans play with Mike Keith and Coach Dave McGinnis on The Call.
Touchdown, Titans!
Your home for Titans football.
104.5 The Zone.
Let's be honest. This so you can go meet all your favorites and hang out. And I said, I still miss baseball, and I haven't been in high school since the 80s. This is the last time I played baseball. And he goes, well, I bet, of course. I bet, I said, sadly, the one sport that I turned out to be remotely decent at was tennis. My size fit, I had great balance, not much else. And Lucas was like, oh, yeah, but tennis was real big in rural Arkansas. I'm like, dude, you have no idea how big it was. And you'd be out there.
Was it?
Oh, my gosh. And you'd be out there playing, and a crop duster would, finish a field 200 yards away and, drop Ordram or Stam or Butrol. You'd leave there with chemicals on you because it's all in the middle of a farm, just a big bean field or rice field.
You had plenty of farmland.
I think that's what stunted my growth.
Yeah. I bet Austin, we should ask him what's the last sport he played and when was it?
Oh, he's going to say football. Austin Stanley joins us now, A to Z Sports. He's a Brentwood Bruin football player, I believe. Is that right, Austin? You are a recent former high school football player at Brentwood, correct?
I mean, define recent. I mean, you're right about it.
More recent than the two of us.
I mean, I'm 31 now, guys. This was I don't know, 13, 14 years ago, almost 15 years ago.
Oh.
You can't be 31. You can't be growing up on us like that. What are you talking about?
I'm sorry, Mickey. I'm getting old before all of our eyes. But I did tear my ACL playing intramural flag football at Tennessee. So that's a full high school career of no injuries, and then blow my knee out doing something stupid.
That's my worst fear there, Austin, that'll happen. So I just stopped all extracurricular activities when it involves other people and just not by myself. But, Austin, tell us, man, what'd you play? What position?
Box safety and some wide receiver. But unfortunately, with some quarterback issues at Tennessee, I was more of an exterior blocker on offense. So not too much going on in the passing game.
We got pretty good safety in the studio here. Do I need to just kind of let you guys hijack this and compare notes or big hits or something?
I know how to play the triple option. We played Dixon County every year. I can set the edge pretty well.
I do not know how to play the triple option, though, so you can help me out.
Well, then I'll help. Yeah, I got you there, Blaine.
Got you.
Well, you had to learn to practice against a triple option. So Brady Breeze is having to learn how to practice like an NFL guy. We heard there was a little rookie on rookie crime today that he whacked Dez and got thrown out of practice.
Yeah, that's not good, especially with what happened in Carolina, earlier in the week with the wide receiver getting hit pretty hard and then going off in an ambulance. And so I guess it's tough because right now I don't see a roster spot for Brady Breeze, and so he's going to have to try to go out there and do everything he can to get noticed. And unfortunately, doing what he did today is getting noticed the wrong way. So I always say, in practice, if you're a defensive back, sometimes it's good to just not be noticed. That means you're not getting burnt, but you're also not making plays. But Brady Breeze today, that's definitely one of the first times that Brady Breeze's name has been mentioned at Titans practice and for the wrong reasons.
Austin Stanley joining us from A to Z Sports and talking all things Titans here on Blaine and Mickey.
Well, generally, I was there, Austin, at practice today, but I didn't see a lot, really. I guess give us your overview on what you saw, specifically, the quarterback and your second day in pads. Is some guys now starting to stand out or some guys kind of, going to the back shadows? What have you seen thus far?
Well, I missed that play today.
I did too.
I did not see that one. Yeah. But maybe if it wasn't much of anything, maybe it's just Mike Vrabel setting a standard. That's the closest opportunity he had to seeing something that might have been bang bang or a little bit too close to kind of send a message throughout the roster for that. But overall, I feel like the defense has looked really good the last couple of days, especially the defensive line with Simmons, Autry, and then Tier Tart has really shown up a lot over the last week of training camp. And I like how the front defensive line is coming together. I've been impressed by John Simon, outside linebacker the Titans signed just a couple weeks ago. He's made some plays in coverage as well as getting after the passer. So the defense seems to be shaping up pretty nicely, especially in the front seven, even with Bud Dupree and Harold Landry not really doing anything.
What have you seen out of Autry, though? He seems to be causing havoc as well as Simmons, too. But, man, he seems to be a great addition.
Oh, no doubt. I graded the Danico Autry signing as an A-plus free agent signing, not for him bringing in this massive contract, but a position of need, a veteran player who is proven and productive that brings versatility and sets a standard in that position group. And I think Danico Autry, especially being a former Colt, he's got some extra motivation too as well, playing in the same division. But he's been as advertised. He's big, long, and being next to Jeffrey Simmons, he's different than the guys that Simmons played next to in the past because Daquan Jones was a great player, but he was a nose tackle, and they were paying him $7 million a year. And so now they're paying Autry around the same dollar figure, but he can do so many more things when it comes to the run, the pass. He can kick outside in some 4-3 situations or kick inside in some third down where you only want 2 down linemen on the field. So I think he's a good glue piece, and he's somebody who's going to give them extra penetration up front in several different ways.
Well, going on the other side of the ball, naturally everybody's been talking about Tannehill and the 5 picks. I didn't see him throw a pick today. But what do you think of his play thus far in camp compared to past camps, really?
Well, yeah, and I guess he's thrown 5 interceptions in camp so far in the first week, and the good thing is that he's been throwing them to starters. At least he's not throwing them to practice squad guys. That Amani Hooker's got 2, Jack Rabbit has 2, and then Christian Fulton had 1 on Monday. But to be honest, Christian Fulton could have had 3 that day, and he just couldn't hang on to the second 2, all on Tannehill. So, he's had his moments. He might have been shaky a couple days here and there, but I do know yesterday he was a lot more solid in his accuracy and overall. But I'm not too worried about Tannehill. If anything, have him try to test his wide receivers and test his DBs that he's practicing against to go make a play on the ball this early on in camp. If this continues once they get closer to the season, then maybe it becomes worrisome, but I'm not too worried about it.
And I guess lastly for me, what about Christian Fulton? It seems like he's kind of progressing like he did at the end of the season where he started to show flashes, and now it seems like he's kind of settling in. What do you think about his play?
I mean, Christian Fulton looks like a player that you can feel very comfortable in playing well on the outside. And it's crazy that Caleb Farley is already back on the field dealing with his injury, which is a great thing. Jack Rabbit Jenkins has looked really good out there as an upgrade over what Malcolm Butler gave you. And, Mike Vrabel's talked about Christian Fulton and his growth a lot already in training camp just one weekend. He singled him out in an answer, I believe, on the first day about how much he's improved over the offseason. And then he talked about the interception that Fulton had in practice was on a route he got burned by earlier in the week and then came back and picked it off the next time he saw it. And then Christian Fulton talked about today after practice of, immediately after that Ravens playoff loss, and he was on the sideline for most of it, he didn't want to go through that again. And so he worked hard, and you can tell that he's worked really hard in the offseason. And, I think Titans fans need to be excited what they have with Jenkins and then the 2 young corners with Fulton and Farley and what those guys can build into.
Well, with co-creator of A to Z Sports, Austin Stanley.
Yeah, joining us on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. It's interesting because you brought up Farley. We're all just kind of holding our breath. There were some teams that said we're not going to draft that guy, and the Titans do draft him. He was the best available player, and you're just thinking, gosh, what if they can get, what if they can get this guy? What if he's healthy? When's that going to happen? Well, he comes off the non-football injury list, and he practiced. Then he practiced again. Then he practiced again today. Now, that doesn't mean he's ready to play in the rigors of an NFL football game, Austin, but that's an unbelievably good sign.
Oh, yeah. August 2nd was his first practice. That's killer. And he's done a little bit more each and every day. Today they had him out there practicing and going through some, they weren't walk-through drills, but they definitely weren't full speed with some wide receiver and tight end route tree combinations with some coverage. But he went through that, so you get to see him actually shadow and cover a wide receiver for really the first time, which was good. And then, he looks different than any other corner I've seen wearing a Titans helmet. And Blaine, I know you've been around the really, really good corners in this organization. Nobody looks like Caleb Farley. People can say, "Oh, that corner looks like a safety." No, he looks like a wide receiver that can move like a corner so far from what we've seen. It's been 3 practices where he hasn't really done much, but physically he just looks different.
All right, we're talking about defensive guys. Let's talk about the defensive coordinator. Every time Shane Bowen speaks, I feel like, Austin, when it's over, I'm like, so wait a second. So who was in charge last year? What are we doing?
Yeah.
I always feel like I'm a little kid and I'm being held upside down by my feet and just shaking, and like all the money's coming out of my pockets. Like I have no idea what up or down is. Curious to get your takeaways from, once again, another round of talking with Shane Bowen and people getting into what he did last year versus this year.
Yeah, or what he wasn't doing last year, because he wasn't the defensive coordinator in title, but he had to do the play calling job on game day. But he was the outside linebackers coach throughout the week.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you can't leave your outside linebackers to go hang out with the D-line or all the other position groups, how are you going to be able to understand their abilities to do the job on game day? It made zero sense to me last year of how they set that up, and they set Shane Bowen up for failure. And I actually feel pretty confident after listening to him talk yesterday that, he at least deserves, at the very least, this opportunity to do the actual job the right way. And we'll see what happens. Like, we still don't know if he's a good play caller in the game, but at least he gets the chance to do the D coordinator role throughout the week, going in the meeting rooms, going around, touching all the different position groups in practice, and helping them with that communication where they were missing out so much last year.
Austin Stanley joins us. You can follow him on Twitter, and you want to do that at Austin Stanley 81 at Austin Stanley 81 A to Z Sports Nashville, hanging out with Blaine and me.
Well, Austin, coming into this season, regardless of what happened last season, let's pick 2 breakout players, one from offense and one from defense, that you think are going to have better years. And I'm not talking about Pro Bowl, but their role will be increased for whatever reason.
I can only do one offense, one defense?
Yep, only one.
Ooh,
Well, if
wow.
you want to give a couple, yeah,
Okay.
sure. Go ahead.
All right, defensively, a lot of people are talking about Amani Hooker, so he's more obvious because of the position he plays, and you can see him out there doing more. So I'm going to go on defense. I'm going to go Tier Tart. I think Tier Tart is the perfect player to be the nose tackle in this defense. He's cheap as an undrafted free agent from a year ago. He's cheap, he's explosive, he works hard, and he looks so much different than he did a year ago. On offense, Racey McMath is so infatuating just because, I don't think he's going to be a breakout star, but I just feel like Racey McMath is always doing something on practice fields that make the media stand there watching, look around, and be like, yeah, he does a lot of things pretty well. Like, they did like one-on-one open field tackle drills yesterday, and they had Racey McMath doing that on defense. And so they're getting him geared up to play a lot of special teams, then seeing how he can develop as a wide receiver. But the guy's huge physically. He's fast and explosive. It's just, can he get all the nuances down to play the wide receiver position? So maybe not a breakout star, but he's somebody that everybody seems to find something about every day to talk about.
Man. Yeah, well, I know you weren't trying to slight anyone, but does that kind of slight Dez, the draft pick that was 4th round, that they moved?
I don't think so. Racey's just physically more impressive of an athlete, and so he stands out more. And Titans fans always fall in love with the late round draft pick wide receiver every year, and the guy never does anything.
Guilty. Yeah.
Racey McMath is not Trey McBride. He's more gifted. He's not Michael Preston of the past. He's not any of those guys. But Des Fitzpatrick, I think, is a way more polished actual wide receiver, where Racey is an athlete who needs a lot of development at the position, but you just cannot ignore the upside the guy has.
What will be, you think, the biggest issue for the Tennessee Titans this upcoming season that will keep them from being the best team they can be, which would be a Super Bowl contending, Super Bowl winning team?
Oh, man.
Don't say the kicker game. I knew it.
Kicker, I guess, right?
I know nothing about kicking, but I'm sure you know a lot more about kicking than I do. All I can do is look at who's making them go through the goalposts and who is not. So now that they've had 2 kickers out here for the last couple of days, what are your thoughts on the kicking game?
Tucker McCann has been more consistent than Heigl from Ohio State, which is why he got cut. Yeah. Sam Ficken, everybody has a buddy on the golf course who weighs like $160 but can just rip it 330 down the fairway, and you're like, how do you have that length? Sam Ficken looks like that buddy. He's a tiny guy, but the ball just shoots off his foot. And so his field goals look better going through than Tucker McCann's look at this point. So I think Sam Ficken was a good waiver ad earlier this week, and I think he has a legitimate opportunity. Now, they like Tucker McCann a lot, but Sam Ficken, I feel better about him than I did about the whole position a week ago.
Well, with Austin Stanley, co-creator of A to Z Sports.
All right, Tennessee hitting the practice field today, the Vols for the first time. I wanted to ask you this because I know you guys at A to Z certainly cover Tennessee and the SEC and do a great job. So I wanted to sneak in a Tennessee question or two before we let you go. You got to go to Vegas right now with a wad of Blaine Bishop's hard-earned cash, and you have to lay it down on who the quarterback starter is. And I'll say this because what was the quote from Heupel yesterday, Austin? They want to find the guy within X number of days or whatever. And then I saw an Orlando TV reporter had said, he's just saying that. He's not in a hurry. Trust us. He is not going to name a starter anytime soon. You got to put Blaine's money down. Starting quarterback week 1, who is it?
I think he brought in Joe Milton from Michigan for a reason, and I think he's going to give Joe Milton every opportunity to win the job. And because he came in after spring ball, so he got to watch Hendon Hooker and Harrison Bailey and Maurer go through spring ball, and he was like, let's bring this big freak of nature. He's like 6'5", 240 into play quarterback too. And so that would be my guess, is that Joe Milton's going to be the guy September 2nd, right, again on that Thursday night to open the season up. That's where I would place my money. And based off of some conversations I had with some Tennessee beat reporters at SEC Media Days a couple weeks ago, they kind of feel the same way.
All right. I know you graduated from UT, and I haven't had a chance to tell you my theory yet, so you're the perfect guy to bounce this off of. Josh Heupel this year needs to be Lane Kiffin from last year, because I went and looked. Ole Miss was number 1 in total offense, and they were last in total defense. They won half their games, and nobody even talked about the defense. They were exciting to watch, and they kind of eased themselves back into competitive stature. So if the offense is explosive enough that nobody pays attention to the defense and they win half their games, is that a successful season? I would say yes.
Absolutely. Mickey, do you realize they scored 3 touchdowns in a game twice last year? And in both of those games, they scored a defensive touchdown. So they didn't even have a game where they scored, I guess, Vanderbilt, which I don't really count that because Vandy had like 30 guys out there on scholarship. But they could not score touchdowns on offense. So if they can average, over 30 points a game, then that's an absolute win. The record is going to be interesting. But, yeah, if he can be Lane Kiffin from a year ago, you take that in a hurry because Ole Miss has a ton of hype coming into this year and thinking they can put some points on some people again and try to improve the defense a little bit. But, that 6 wins is the mark where you can't really tell if Heupel can get there or not. And I think the game against Pitt the second week is really that swing game of can you get to 6 or not.
All right, bonus question since you mentioned 6 doesn't tell you much about Heupel on the way out. Is Heupel going to be like a long-term guy who gets them back to prominence, or do you think maybe he's the guy that gets them like Malarkey was, where he gets them back to sea level and then the next guy launches them from there?
Well, the smart thing Josh Heupel's agent did is they made his contract where they can't really fire him for like the next – he's going to be there at least 4 years because of his contract, because of how they worked in the deal with the sanctions and whatever happens with the investigation. So – you're riding with him until at least like 2024. And so, can he get to 8 wins? Like that's kind of my benchmark is like, how quickly can he have 8 wins in a season? And then can he get past that barrier where Butch Jones really struggled to get past the 8-4 regular season to break through. So I don't know. I mean, I can't really tell. I mean, he seems like a normal guy, which I don't know if that's a good thing because, you have to have a little psychopath in you to be a coach at this level. And can he handle the pressure as a normal type of person at a place like Tennessee where everybody's watching?
Well, it's going to be fascinating to watch. And like you said, he's got some time to do whatever he's going to do. So, Austin, we appreciate the time. At Austin Stanley, 80 A to Z Sports Nashville. People need to follow you guys and keep up with all your great content there, man. We appreciate the time. We'll talk to you again soon.
Keep up the great work, man.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Appreciate
See you later.
Yes, sir. Austin Stanley. All right, let's get into this. ESPN is doing this thing where they're taking a division of every conference or a specific conference every day, and they're going through each team and how many wins they think they'll have. They're doing like the thing where they simulate the two teams and all this. Tennessee fans, what do they say about you? Your for sure wins, your borderline, or what if toss-up games? They've got all this laid out. We'll share that with you next. It's Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone.
Buck breaks down Ryan Tannehill.
Anybody can box score Ryan Tannehill and say Ryan Tannehill of Miami is not the Ryan Tannehill of Tennessee. But you do have to take the time to see what impact people around him have had on what it is that he's asked to do, is execute at an extremely efficient level.
The Buck Rising Show. Tomorrow morning starting at 10 on 104.5 The Zone.
All right, you
Definitely not. I can't
over
do it.
like, hello, hello, hello. You go over a bridge, swinging bridge. So we go over a swinging bridge. My son's like, I don't like this. I don't like
They
this.
got everything attached, correct?
Yeah,
You
it's
didn't tell me
attached.
that part.
It's attached, but it's still swinging over
I'm
like.
talking about you're attached to.
No, you're not attached.
What?
You're just holding on to the side.
No.
Over a
no.
gorge. Yeah.
No, well, that's a no.
So we did do that, and there's one spot where you can see 7 states. And my son was super mad. He's 6. We're like, why are you mad? He goes, I can't even see Nashville from here. Like, you ding dong, you're not up here to see Nashville. But you can see 7 states. But he was extremely upset. So if you're expecting to see Nashville, you won't. So we saw Rock City, but every year we go. And so I was asking Lucas, and Lucas like, you should go to Big Town
Virgin Falls.
And I'm like, okay.
Virgin
so I
Falls.
look it up. It's like a 9-mile hike to the waterfall.
9
So
miles.
we're like a dad and a 15-year-old girl.
You hiked
We're not
9 miles.
wilderness explorers, Lucas.
What?
You took a helicopter up there.
What, Virgin Falls?
Yeah,
We
you
can't
hiked
hike like
9
9 miles to the falls. We don't have time to make an 18-mile
I see.
round trip.
It's a beautiful hike.
Did you do it all in one setting, or did you
Yeah.
spend the night somewhere and then hike the other 4?
No, we hiked, like, you can hike straight from the parking lot, but we hiked 2 miles to the campsite, set up, and then did the whole Virgin Falls hike the day of, and then came back, camped out, and went. This was like a month ago.
Right. I mean, I saw the pictures.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous hike. It's awesome. There's like little natural pools on the way that you can take a dip in, cool off.
Okay. So
That doesn't sound more family-ish, like kids. Do you? I mean, I could be wrong. Do you think
I
like
was
a
not with
5-year,
family. I was
6-year-old
not.
could do it?
That was not exactly with family.
now he won't be on the trip.
I know you were like with
It's just
lady
Mickey and his
friends.
daughter.
You
Yes.
and your friends there.
Right.
We're trying to make a big fun deal for the ladies to get a little scared from the bears at night in the tent. So they snuggle up closer. Mickey's trying to hike up with a
We're just having a
6-year-old.
well, no 6-year-old, just my daughter and me. So it's
just
just
your
a
daughter.
nice day together. We do this every year. So you can hit us in this chat, however you're watching, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. You can tweet us. If you're my Facebook friend, send me something on Facebook, put it on my wall. But I'm trying to take suggestions of which thing we should go see. So we've been to
So this is a tradition.
we do it
between
every year.
You and your daughter, right?
So we did Old Fort State Park, which is in Manchester, and then there's another waterfall. I can't remember the name of it. That's on people's property, but you can just go and see it. They don't care.
Oh, they
So
don't?
we saw
Oh.
2 in Manchester,
I'll just hang out there then.
and then we did for a little while. So then last year we went to, oh gosh, I knew I couldn't remember when we went to another one last year, Table Rock, not Table Rock.
Where is it located?
I don't remember. I'll have to remember. I'll look it up in the
Well,
break.
actually, it brings up a thought of what are some of your traditional things you do with your family every year or once every other year or so that you consider, pretty cool. Traditional deal that you kind of fell into and you started doing it.
Well, and we just kind of fell into this because everybody kept saying, we were like, we want to just go do something for a day. And people say, go see a waterfall. They're everywhere around here. And they are. They're everywhere. So, again, anything you can let us know. You can call in 615-737-1045, Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. Just help me out here trying to make a final decision, so I'm open for all suggestions on that. We said we would hit these vol win totals. So here you go. ESPN Plus, they're doing this thing where they break down a division of a conference every day or a whole conference. They got Tennessee, their projected wins, 6.7. I mean, if you roll that up, that's 7 wins. I mean, I round up.
I've said it a long time ago that 6 is feasible, just if you look at the schedule. And that's, taking in coaching change, violations, doesn't really matter. Changing the guard, all the transfers in, transfers out. I just think they have, it's the brand of Tennessee. They have a winnable schedule here. I mean, okay, look, and you say 6, 7. I mean, to me, that's not nothing really. I think it's the question of when they get to 8, and then can they get to 10, and can they maintain it? That's when the question you really get to see if Heupel's the guy. This year, I think they can. I mean, Bowling Green win. Pittsburgh, they should win, but Pittsburgh is a really good team, so don't look past them. Tennessee Tech, so that's 3. Florida, no. Missouri, you hope, but it's at Missouri. South Carolina, yes. Ole Miss, coin toss, but it's at home. At Alabama, at Kentucky, revenge factor. Let's see what you can do. It's at Kentucky. Georgia, then South Alabama and Vanderbilt. I mean, I can actually see 5 wins without even blinking. Bowling Green, Tennessee Tech, South Alabama, Vandy, and then you got Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Mizzou that you got to try to fight for. So I mean, you could get 7 if things go right for you.
Sure.
With the quarterback and to staying healthy, critical positions. Yeah, I think they can.
All right, this is what, and I know Lucas is going to start giving us hand signals telling us to take the break. Likely wins: Tennessee Tech, Bowling Green, South Alabama, Vanderbilt, and South Carolina. There's your 5 right there.
That's
Likely
5.
wins,
Yep.
and this is the way they're. This isn't like people just guessing. This is them simulating the game.
Kentucky, Missouri, and Ole Miss.
So they got relative toss-ups: Pittsburgh, Missouri, Kentucky, Ole Miss. That's the toss-ups. So
say you split, you got 7 there.
7 wins right there.
Yeah.
And then the likely losses: Georgia, Florida, Alabama, the big 3.
I think we could coach them to 6 wins right now. Me, you, and Lucas.
I don't know what
Watch his running Hypo's offense.
We'll let him run the offense. We will we'll run the Gatorade distribution system. All right, Sam from Manchester has a suggestion for me. Sam, we got to take a break. It's a short one. Hold on. We'll come back to you. Again, my daughter and I were looking for a great Tennessee waterfall. Mark says Cumberland State Park. We're getting some suggestions here as well on Zone TV. So hit me up. Let me know. You can tweet us to hour number 2 coming up.
Going tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Because he won't be here. And if I'm not here, then I'm with him.
That's right. We're going to take the Hitman, too. Lucas is going to handle it. We'll figure it out. Hour number 2 coming up.
Mike Keith is excited for another season of Titans football. Bam! Yeah, we know how you feel, Mike. Catch Mike Keith and Coach Dave McGinnis with The Call on Titans Radio.
Your home for Titans football. 104.5 The Zone.
It's that second day of pass. They're like, oh man, that was exhausting. But it wasn't even as hot. They got a break, man. They need to do the Jedi mind trick. You know, they got to psych themselves out, man. Act like
beach.
that.
Yeah.
See that water out there? You're at the beach, man. Mm-hmm. Start seeing things. I guess you would get a lot of energy if you saw a whole bunch of hot chicks walking by. Yeah, you sure would. You'd be all attention. In more ways than one.
Julio Jones came down awkwardly on Monday. Didn't practice anymore that day or yesterday or today. Blaine told the story. He would be out there at camp and just pretend like he was at the beach, right?
No
That's how you got through the hot weather. You were at the beach. You weren't at 2-a-days.
Yeah, no doubt. You have much more energy. But, Vrabel addressed that about Julio, so the Julio watch needs to stop, basically is what he's saying, and that I'll give you up to date so you won't have to ask me every day, where is he at?
They're going to ask every day. I mean, you have to. Somebody's got to ask every day, how's Julio? What's the latest? And he's always going to say, but he's nothing.
He should just say, I think he's going to just practice once a week, and that's it. So you guys, just be prepared of only getting to see Julio once a week. You should just throw a bombshell. Like, why? Oh, because he's Julio.
Right. He's literally the best receiver of the last decade of NFL football.
I was going to say, he's not the best receiver on the team, though.
Of the last decade.
Right.
Yeah. And think about that. Like you saying that, and people say, like, what? You're like, no, there's another guy named A.J. Brown who's like a rocket ship taking off.
Yeah, he's on a whole nother plane. The NFL better watch out. If you thought he couldn't get any better, I think you need to think about that again. Because he looks like this is easy out there. And when I say easy, I'm talking about his releases, his routes, his pinpoint. Route run is your go-to.
Yep.
And he's a massive human. We already know his run after catch, his yak, yards after catch for everyone, is phenomenal. So, it's going to be great to see. But, I was out there at practice. I didn't, the King is like on a King's type, schedule.
Yeah.
I saw him just throwing balls around and throwing it up, catching with himself. And I'm like, whoa, man. The king says, I'm the king, and the king needs to make sure I get the right, appropriate type of reps.
Yeah, which is
not the king.
Not many.
Yeah, hey, more power to him. I'm not mad at him. He the king. He every time I see him, I just be like, man, that's a gigantic human being.
Playing running back in the NFL. Running back.
You know what's so funny? I saw John Glennon say the same thing that people say about the King playing running back and how he looks compared to the other running backs. Well, basically, that's how Caleb Farley looks to the other quarterbacks. I mean, most of them. He looks like a tower.
I can't wait to see this
guy.
guy.
This 6'2" guy, and he looks the part, and even on individual drills, got to see him do a little bit more, but he looks like if he stays healthy and starts getting the groove, there seems like they're trying to ease him in, slowly see how his body responds and reacts. Don't push him too hard, but naturally he's going to go out there
every day. That's what they're saying. Yeah.
Yep, especially with a guy that's young and, anxious to be out there, and naturally he would go out there and go all out immediately. That wouldn't be the recipe for long-term success. So, yeah, he looked like, wow, he plays corner. I don't know if the Titans have ever had a tall corner like him, like that.
Only Kerry Washburn briefly, you remember? And then they cut him, and he went to Baltimore and played a few years. But he started here, and he was like 6'3" or something. He was the one tall corner that I remember, and it was only briefly, Kerry Washburn.
Watch this. Kerry what?
Yeah. And then he played in Baltimore, won a Super Bowl there, if I'm not mistaken. Kerry Washburn, like 6'3".
Washburn.
Kerry Washburn, yeah.
So, like Washburn, the coach.
Yeah.
Man, I don't even remember him.
I just remember because he was 6'3". All right, we got a couple callers on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. So my daughter and I, we do a day trip every year. We go hike to a waterfall. Mark on Zone TV said go to Cumberland State Park in Crossville. We got Sam in Manchester with a hiking suggestion. And then we have Scott and Beth Page who wants to weigh in on the Vols win total. And by the way, Robert in the Zone TV chat said Doors are going to beat UT again this year. Book it. So we're already getting to smack talk, and we're not even in a season yet. Let's get Sam in Manchester first. Sam, thanks for calling, man. What you got for us?
I was going to say, when you and your daughter came to Manchester, I'm going to guess that Rutledge Falls was the private waterfall you went to.
Yes, sir. We went to Rutledge Falls and Old Fort State. I always want to say Old Fart State. Yes, we went to Old Fort State Park. It's so hard to say that. We went to both of those in one day and loved them.
I would highly recommend Fall Creek Falls outside of Spencer if you've not been there. That's a state park.
Okay. That seems like the go-to for a lot of people, Fall Creek Falls. That may be the clubhouse leader right now, Sam. Thank you, man.
I think that's the tallest waterfall this side of the Mississippi.
Okay, that sounds good. I just hope it's not – thank you, Sam. I hope that's not like a 9-mile hike to get there, though. But I also don't want, like, the 200-foot walk from the parking lot. I mean, I'd like a little more than that.
Right.
You know, meet in the middle somewhere.
In the middle.
Yeah, somewhere in the middle.
I'm with you. I may try to go to one in Chattanooga this weekend. Is that the one you went to in Chattanooga?
Rock City, and you just walk through tunnels and, like, look at gnomes and stuff.
That's okay, though. But are we enclosed? Like the whole entire time?
No, but sometimes
like light was come too.
No, sometimes you're so deep in a crevice, though. There's a couple times you walk through something like they made a little cave, but you can always see the sky above you for the most part.
Oh, okay, cool, because my wife would be, she doesn't like
but
that.
you go through a couple of them, you have to turn sideways to fit through.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I posted a video on my Facebook page, and there were some people who were like, no way.
Yeah. I think, is that where I saw yours? I thought I saw it on Instagram.
I put it there, too. It posted both. Let's
I
get
hardly ever check my Facebook.
Scott, hold on, because Steve has a hiking suggestion. Let me get Steve, then we'll get you, Scott. I promise to talk some Vols before the end of the segment. Steve, thanks for joining us on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline.
Hey, Mickey. Hey, there's a trail on Mount Eagle near Swanee University called Fiery Gizzard. I don't really know how to say it. Fiery Gizzard. Fiery Gizzard. Like a chicken gizzard.
Is there a lot of gizzards
And
out there?
And it's difficult in ways. It gets steep at times, but it's the prettiest trail I've ever been on. And you get to one small fall that you can swim in, got a great swimming hole. And then you get to a large fall at the end that's really pretty, and it's got a big swimming hole. So you can swim at both of them, and it's just beautiful.
Ooh,
Fiery Gizzard.
You swim in the.
It sounds like something I would get after eating too much Mexican food.
Yeah, the gizzards, that would scare me a little bit.
Okay, so all right, Fiery Gizzard.
I've never swam in one of them. I watched them on movies in there like that. I would get a little nervous. I don't know why. Maybe because I've never done it. I don't know what's in there.
I used to swim in creeks around my house in the country when I was little.
Well,
and like snakes crawling out.
Yeah.
And like I would just shake the water up to run the snakes off and then just jump in. Just like
you
dark.
did?
Yes. Yep.
In the dark.
Just anytime. Didn't think twice about it.
Oh my.
I mean, I shook
when
the water up.
you were young.
Yeah, I was dumb.
Yeah. Well, you didn't know any better, but that's okay.
Yeah,
but now that you're older, would you do that today?
I would swim in that because the water's cold. You won't have snakes in cold water.
Oh, that's how snakes roll.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, man, they don't want cold water. They want hot. They want warm.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't want cold. They won't get in cold water. You're safe. So there you go. Scott in Bethpage does want to talk about the Vols win total. Scott joins us next on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. What's going on, Scott? Appreciate the phone call today.
Hike or anything like that. I'm more a tailgater and TV watcher and air conditioning guy. So my physique reflects that too.
I like all those things too. Hey man, this is just a daddy-daughter thing, but
that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Well, good luck finding something. Real quick, Blaine, I guess I'm throwing this your way.
Okay.
More than Mickey, but Mickey, you and Luke chime in too, because I know Luke, you've been a Tennessee fan forever, so you can relate. But the factor of not having Garantano as a quarterback, and I'm not bashing. I don't want to bash him. I'm not here to do that. He's moved on. We've moved on, and that's great. But not having that situation, and Blaine is a player, and you've played at all three levels and done it at a high level. I know you wouldn't do this yourself, but you've probably played with players that do. That type of situation causes the team to quit, basically, and that's what it looked like to me, that they quit both years in a row. I mean, you're literally talking about a team that 2 years ago, if it hadn't been for him, we may very well have beaten Alabama, the best team in the country. I mean, one of the better Alabama teams. And, I mean, we had them. I felt like we had them, and it was in our direction. especially because we were running the football. And when that kind of stuff happens, and all the things that happened last year with the pick sixes and just the every time something bad would happen, you would just see the whole team just say, like, well, here we go again, it's over. Yeah. And, Blaine, can I get your thoughts on that? And is it's not being factored in. I don't guess there's any way you can factor it in. But to me, as a Vols fan, I believe it is a factor. I believe that having a fresh man under center, something new, maybe something a lot better, we hope, and it can rejuvenate the team, and then as well as playing for a staff that they actually like.
Scott, thank you, man. A lot of great points.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, also, not to just look at JG, Garantano, but also the coaching staff. They kept putting him back out there, and you could see the reflection on what all the other players thought, too, at the same time. But with that being said, you also want to be able to, overcome adversity as a team. So it seems like they really didn't deal with that very well, and they felt like, everything could start off good, and then one bad thing happened, then all of a sudden they go down and go in the tank. And that's a reflection not only on all the players and not just the quarterback, but also the coaching staff and the head coach. So to me, they need to exude confidence and belief. And when things go wrong, we also can right the ship.
Right.
The momentum swings and everything else. So you have to be able to overcome that. So we'll see if Heupel can overcome that. I really don't necessarily just want to put it on, Garantano, because the coaches kept going back to him. And this is what even the guy that they recruited now, by the way, this is a guy that was already there. So I just think the inconsistency of the quarterback play and actually the offense, which was to me more on a high schoolish type level offense than compared to most offenses. And I think that's why they didn't have a lot of success.
Yeah, again, there are so many plot lines to the Heupel thing that are just so fascinating to watch. And I saw there's a guy, Rainey, on Twitter. I think he's at Rainey Vols, big Vols fan, interacts with the show, interacts with the zone. I see him doing that. And somebody had tweeted, name something in sports you're sick of. And I think it was Rainey. If it's not Rainey, I'm attributing it to you. And he said, Tennessee rebuilding. It was name something in sports you're sick of. And he said, Tennessee rebuilding. So, and then you got a caller who just said, we could have beaten Alabama. And then something happened with Garantano or Tano, and you didn't do it. So, certainly Tennessee fans are ready to see all that turn around. We'll talk pro football next. Our guy from CBS Sports, Jordan Dajani, set to join us. Hey, there's a lot of big storylines. We'll get to all of them. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone.
J-Mart and Ramon. Just say it how you wanna.
Talk about a lot of things that are happening down on Rocky Top. Yeah, I said down. I know it's over on Rocky Top.
Screw it. Say it how you want to.
I don't care.
We do not care.
J-Mart and Ramon. Jason Martin and Ramon Foster. Tomorrow morning starting at 6 on 104.5 The Zone.
All right. Dajani from CBS Sports, who joins us now. Jordan, you're a Tennessee guy, right? Live in Tennessee?
Yes, sir.
All right, let me ask you this. You seem like a young guy, active. So my daughter and I, every year we go on a day trip and we hike a waterfall somewhere in Tennessee. You got one day to go, and we don't want to hike like 13 miles. Like Lucas was like, go to, this falls, and I look it up, and it's like a strenuous hike with a camping trip in the middle. Just trying to have a little bonding time, not overexert ourselves. Give us a spot to go to before we start talking this NFL football.
Oh, man, I'm so sorry. You are asking the wrong guy this question. I'm not very outdoorsy. You'd probably find me in front of a TV. If I am exercising, it's going to be in an air-conditioned gym on a treadmill, not outside enjoying nature on a walk.
Fair enough. It's like the Lemonhead song. I lied about being the outdoor type. You did not lie about it, though. You were very truthful up front. Well, let's get into this. So the Joe Judge thing, his old school coaching in New York, of all places, has been such a fun thing to watch. So yesterday, what do? They get into a big brawl, and he just makes everybody run, apparently like Herb Brooks with the 1980 hockey team in the movie Miracle. And this was after he made some coaches run. This guy is coaching old school, but what a mess he seems to have his hands on up there at times.
Yeah, it is pretty wild. But at the same time, even if you don't think Joe Judge is the right coach to take you to a Super Bowl, you do have to respect the kind of old school mentality that he has. It's pretty funny to watch veterans, guys over 30, having to run laps as punishment, and even coaches like you mentioned. So, yeah, the whole storyline was that big brawl that happened the other day. And you know what I found interesting about that entire situation is that Daniel Jones, the prospective franchise quarterback, was the guy who was somehow found himself on the bottom of that pile. I always thought in training camp, you should ask your buddy there in the studio about this, the quarterback is the guy you're supposed to protect, right? He should not be anywhere near these kind of training camp brawls. So that's what really stood out to me.
On with Jordan Dajani of CBS Sports, talking all things NFL on Blaine and Mickey.
Well, Jordan, thanks for coming on. And I guess give us a little bit about what's going on out on the West Coast as we're so far away with the 49ers and Jimmy G and Trey Lance. Is John Lynch, a former a friend of mine, not a former, but former player and now GM? Is he playing coy saying Jimmy G is playing the best of his career, and that means trade?
Oh, man, Blaine, I need you to buckle up, man, because the Trey Lance hype train is leaving the station. I mean, this week he's put together a few great practices there on the practice field. And yesterday, I even wrote about it. He had this incredible throw across his body, rolling left, that traveled 50 yards through the air on a rope to Trent Sherfield that resulted in a touchdown that had reporters, quickly going to their phones to type out that they've never seen anything like this. So Trey Lance is receiving a lot of hype, and we have poor head coach Kyle Shanahan out there trying to quell the hype by saying, I thought he had a good day, not a perfect day. And then there's Jimmy Garoppolo, who's had a couple of good days as well, according to reports. But at the same time, it's so hard not to be intrigued by the young quarterback who appears to have all this upside that you gave up a king's ransom for to move up to number 3 overall to select him in the 2021 NFL draft. And he's hitting the practice field early in his NFL career and putting together some very impressive plays. So this is a storyline in terms of the 49ers quote-unquote quarterback battle. It is not going to go away. If Trey Lance continues to put together and string together these impressive performances on the practice field, people are going to continue to ask the question. And in fact, Kyle Shanahan was asked the question yesterday, when is Trey Lance, when do you think he's going to be the starter of this team? And how Kyle Shanahan responded was saying, when I feel like he's the best option to lead this team to victory. That's kind of open-ended. And again, if Trey Lance continues to ball out here in training camp, this could be something where the 49ers brass may have to go back to the drawing board and wonder and try to draw up how exactly they want this quarterback situation to unfold as we enter week 1 of the regular season.
Well, with Jordan Dajani, NFL writer for CBS Sports, I guess I want to add to that. I was watching him at practice a couple days ago, and I can't recall, but I thought it was some decent backup quarterbacks on the roster. Who are the other quarterbacks, if you can recall, on the roster so that they could move forward if they chose to trade Jimmy G? Because you would think that they have a contending team. They got all their pieces back on defense. They're staying healthy. The offense will be what it is. if you got a strong offensive line and a running game, could go with a young quarterback. Or do you stay conservative and stick with Jimmy G and say he is what he is? He'll probably get injured, and we'll get Trey Lance in then.
Sorry, you broke up a little bit. You're asking the other quarterbacks on the 49ers roster?
Yes. Who are the other backups? When I was watching,
I know one guy is Josh Rosen. That would be kind of an interesting guy who's been up there. And then I think Nate Sudfeld. From the Philadelphia Eagles.
He went to IU, right? Yeah, he's very quality, good quality backup quarterbacks, in my judge. If you want to move forward from Jimmy G and go with Trey Lance, but it's kind of interesting. I guess staying on the West Coast then with Denver, where are we at with the Denver Broncos and their quarterback situation, or is there?
Yeah, so this is one of the few legitimate quarterback battles we have here in the NFL offseason heading into 2021. And it's one that everyone has eyes on because the Broncos roster, top to bottom, is somewhat impressive, right? Look at the offensive side of the ball. They got a very solid offensive line. They got running backs that are very good, and Melvin Gordon, and then a rookie in Javonte Williams. The wide receiving core is very underrated and chock full of young talent, in my opinion. And then they have arguably a top 10 tight end in Noah Fant. So the quarterback position is going to be very important for this Broncos team when it comes to their prospective ceiling heading into 2021. Now, I saw offensive coordinator Pat Shurmur have a very interesting quote yesterday saying that this is the best version of Drew Lock he has seen. Now, out of the other reports we've seen from reporters out there in Denver who are there day in, day out, it hasn't necessarily sounded like that. It sounds like both Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock have had good days and bad days. They've been a little bit inconsistent. That was to be expected. But when you take a step back and examine this quarterback competition as a whole, you have Teddy Bridgewater, who's a journeyman. He didn't have a 2020 season that was necessarily good enough. Obviously, the Carolina Panthers traded him away. And then you have Drew Lock, who showed some promise in those first 5 games in his rookie season and then had a very big sophomore slump. I think that Drew Lock's familiarity with the system is going to have him win this competition. I think just his upside in general is going to be a good thing as well. But again, I don't think that the Broncos are necessarily going to ride with him the entire season if he struggles. Because like I said, this team is pretty talented. They're not necessarily looking at a full stage rebuild. So I think Drew Lock right now is probably ahead in this competition. But of course, that is subject to change.
Yeah, everything's subject to change, as we know, with Carson Wentz. They're no longer with the Colts as far as at least for the next 5 to 12 weeks.
5 to 12,
well, yeah, that was a little broad there. But, how do you think this is going to play out as far as starting the season with Eason or whoever else they may consider bringing in, whether it's Foles, Rivers, to Blake Bortles, whoever it may be? What do you think is going to happen? Give us your bold prediction.
Oh, Blaine, this situation is so fascinating, man. I mean, from what I can tell, it looks like Frank Reich is going to live and die by Carson Wentz. And you could tell that because they were asked about other veteran options out on the open market, such as Nick Foles, of course, the guy who always seemingly unseats Carson Wentz. And, obviously Frank Reich has a great relationship with Nick Foles, but he made sure to say that this is Carson Wentz's team. Because of that, I do not think that the Colts are going to trade for Nick Foles. But at the same time, I think that acquiring a veteran could be a smart move. But again, that goes into the real timetable behind closed doors when it comes to Carson Wentz's return. Is he realistically going to miss 1 or 2 games, or are we talking about legitimate 12 weeks rolling to the mid part of the season without your starting quarterback? If that's the case, you know who I'd be interested in is former Tennessee Titans quarterback Marcus Mariota.
Here we go.
That is someone who I'd be interested in bringing to Indy, right? He knows the AFC South. He probably has, some juice in him from how things ended with the Tennessee Titans. He's someone who's still young, who still has potential. He's mobile, and kind of like the Broncos, whenever I write about the Colts, I say that this roster is ready to compete right now. They have a great defense, one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, a young wide receiving core. Jonathan Taylor looks like to be an up-and-coming star at the running back position. I think that behind closed doors, if I was working for the Colts organization, I'm going to try to decipher what is realistically the timetable for return or recovery for Carson Wentz. And if it's longer than I expect and I have to go more than 1 or 2 games without him under center, then I'm going to make a move.
Well, especially if the beginning of their schedule, their first 5 games is brutal. Now, if you trade for anybody of, let's say, Marcus Mariota's ilk, the same level, what are your long-term plans then with Carson Wentz? And how much do you get into his mental psyche, as we know it's really fragile based off of his time in Philadelphia?
Yeah, I would assume it is pretty fragile, unfortunately, and it's not necessarily his fault, right? He's gone through a lot of downs as of late, and he is under contract for at least, 3 more years after 2021? I'm looking at his contract here. Spotrac says there's a potential out in 2022. I'd have to look more into that. But from what I can tell, even if, let's say, Marcus Mariota comes in and does pretty well for the Colts, he's on a 1-year contract. I think he's paying about $3.5 million, something like that. So with Carson Wentz still under contract, it really does sound like Frank Reich has a lot of trust in him. And, of course, we know that they have a good relationship as well. And he's a guy that Frank Reich wants to give every opportunity to take over a franchise and lead them to the promised land, if you will. So that's going to be very interesting to try to figure out how it's going to work down the line. But again, that kind of goes into their options right now heading into the regular season. It just sounds to me like Frank Reich really thinks Carson Wentz is going to be able to return sooner rather than later. Of course, that's very subject to change. But to me, if I had to guess right now, I really do think that they roll out Jacob Eason in week 1 and hope that Carson Wentz can make it back in week 2 or week 3.
We're on with NFL writer for CBS Sports, Jordan Dajani.
And Jordan, as the AFC South just continues to implode all around us, you got Deshaun Watson, who showed up and was like holding the tackling dummy and, mixing the Gatorade, and then he had a mysterious ankle injury, and now he just can't practice because of this mysterious ankle injury. Imagine being the Texans. He doesn't want to be there. You've tried everything to keep him. He's got 20-plus civil cases still out there. What in the world are they going to do? Because now he's not practicing, but he's there so you can't find him. Just what a horrific – it's like going to a party and your ex is there, and neither one of you want to leave. Just what a terrible story and a terrible storyline for all involved.
Yeah, it's horrific. And to answer your question, what they're going to do, I have no idea what they're going to do. This sounds like a horrible situation. But you know who I really feel bad for in this situation is first-year head coach David Culley, right? Because he walks into this apartment that's completely on fire, and he's charged with putting it out with a pot and some water. And you know what's worse is Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk, he penned a piece, I think it was either today or yesterday, where he said it doesn't seem like Culley and then the Texans front office are on the same page when it comes to Deshaun Watson, because we saw him being checked out with his injury on Monday, but that wasn't confirmed to be the reason he wasn't at practice on Tuesday or Wednesday. So is he basically just on paid vacation until they figure out where he's going to be dealt? It doesn't seem like David Culley was aware of what's going on with that. So it's adding more mess to a messy situation, right? I mean, it's going to be tough to move forward without Deshaun Watson, and the roster isn't good from top to bottom, and they're in a pretty tough division as well. So this is a major rebuild, and one that first-year head coach David Culley definitely doesn't want to be facing.
Well, Jordan, adding to that, though, what is Watson's value on the trade market? Like, what would be going through, a GM and the organization's thoughts here? Because if it goes through the court system, it may be a year and a half before that even happens. Do you roll the dice and take a risk there and give up capital? How do you think this is going to play out for Watson and what teams think about him?
Right. Yeah, this is $1 million question, right? And I think we might have talked about it a little earlier, but basically the way I look at it is that if there's one or let's say 2 teams that are very interested in acquiring Deshaun Watson services, let's say it's the Denver Broncos maybe, and then the Philadelphia Eagles. If you know that there's another club out there that's interested in getting Watson just like you are, if I'm the Broncos, if you will, then you might be more tempted to try to get a deal done sooner rather than later. But at the same time, as we've talked about, what he's being accused of, and if it does go to the court system, everyone assumes it's going to be settled and civil. I don't believe that's going to be the case. There hasn't been any evidence to prove that this is kind of close to ending. So this is something that's going to have to take its course, and that's why I think a deal is going to be done later rather than sooner. So the Texans are going to, stick their flag in the ground, even though they're open to negotiations right now and open to trade talks. They still want a pretty penny for what was once their franchise quarterback. So with all that together, that's why I think that you're not going to see Deshaun Watson dealt very soon.
Man, what an absolute mess. He's not going to play. He's not on the commissioner's exempt list yet. There are teams who would like to have him. but you can't bring that guy to your team right now with that hanging over him. There would be people picketing outside your stadium. Now, some people would say, I don't care, I just want him to play quarterback, but you know it's going to be a straight disaster. So do teams do some type of conditional pick or picks? And then if you're the Texans, you don't want to get fleeced. You don't want this to somehow all get cleared up, and then maybe he plays and he just goes right back to – I mean, there's just no way in or out of this deal. This is just such a terrible situation. And here's the thing. If you're a Titans fan, you're probably not going to see that guy this year. So that's just like, okay, well, good deal. Let's play the let's play the Texans without Deshaun Watson, who has basically been a one-man gang and was last year and kept them in both of those games.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you talked about if Deshaun Watson was to be traded. Conditional picks, that's kind of a good guess, but it would have to be multiple conditional picks. And either way, I think the Texans would feel like they're being fleeced. But, man, the AFC South, like you mentioned, is absolutely imploding. Between the Jaguars trying to work in a lot of rookies, we don't know if Urban Meyer is going to be a successful NFL head coach. It's obviously his first year. Then we have the Texans' problems, losing their franchise quarterback. And now the Colts, two of their most important offensive pieces, have gone down with injuries that are going to last into the regular season. And then they're sitting the Tennessee Titans, who return all their important players. They added Julio Jones. The defense is looking good in training camp. I'm feeling pretty confident if I'm holding a ticket worth $100 for the Titans to win the AFC South.
Yeah, Titans fans just holding their breath. Yeah, just holding their breath. Jordan Dajani, our guest on Blaine and Mickey.
Well, before we let you go, I got to ask you this. I know we don't usually have, hot seats for coaches in the NFL, really, but who do you really think, if they don't get off to a fast start, they may not even make it halfway through the season as the head coach in the NFL?
Yep, you're going to have to go to the Chicago Bears, Matt Nagy for sure. He's a guy who's been on the hot seat for a minute. He's a guy who has been adamant that Andy Dalton is going to be a starting quarterback in week one, even though they traded up to acquire Justin Fields, who has one of the most talented arms in that NFL draft class. Things could go really sour with Andy Dalton under center. And if that happens, then obviously he's going to be put more on the hot seat, and he's going to be totally relying on Justin Fields to save his job as well. And I think Justin Fields is going to have a successful NFL career, but let's imagine when he's finally inserted into the starting lineup, whenever that may be, week 5, week 6, mid-season, whatever it may be. What if he doesn't get off to a hot start either? I think that would basically guarantee that Matt Nagy would be fired.
Wouldn't starting the rookie, though, buy you some more time or no? I mean, they made the playoffs last year, right? They did make the playoffs. Yeah.
Yes, they did make the playoffs, and obviously it wasn't a very happy season. It wasn't a very explosive offensive season for sure, but they did make it to the playoffs. They're a solid team, and, the defense carries that unit as they have for many years now in Chicago. But I'm with you. I think it definitely buys you some time when you bring in a rookie quarterback who's going to start immediately, because I think Justin Fields is talented enough, even if he doesn't necessarily put up multiple wins in his first few starts, you're going to be able to see that he possesses the talent, enough talent to be a legitimate starting signal caller in the NFL. And if you have that kind of glimpse of optimism moving forward, that's obviously going to cool your seat down just a little bit. So if I'm Matt Nagy and I'm thinking about my job security heading into 2021, then that's obviously something I'm going to be thinking about, is having Justin Fields take over just from the jump, because it could end up helping you out if he ends up being the star that many anticipate he will be.
Jordan, great stuff, man. Always look forward to talking to you. People can follow you for all the latest nationally with the NFL at Jordan Dajani. Thank you, man.
Appreciate it, Jordan.
Anytime. Much.
Yes, sir. We'll talk to Jordan a lot, I'm sure, during this upcoming football season. All right, Taylor Lewan, one of these guys he talked about. Titans have a lot of guys coming back. He's coming back from an injury. Gave a very candid interview today after practice, including what's it like to go through rehab. What are those times like going through rehab from an injury? You'll hear from Taylor Lewan next. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone.
The 3HL, by any means necessary.
By any means necessary. Defense, scoring, taking people out, whatever it is, it's on. You got to win, and it's going down.
The 3HL with Brent Doherty, Don Davenport, and Ron Slay. This afternoon starting at 3, 104.5 The Zone.
being a Titans fan. I've been a Titans fan as long as y'all have been here, and just excited to be on the radio with y'all. Mickey, a huge fan. Been listening to both of y'all for quite some time. But I know you're a big music guy. With the new First Bank Amphitheater opening up yesterday, I got a pretty interesting story. So I live directly across the street from the road that you have to turn on to go to the amphitheater. And let me tell you, the traffic was miles long for hours and hours.
Oh.
I mean, both ways, probably I think would take you 2 hours to get to the amphitheater. And so I'm just standing at the end of my driveway, just watching these cars endlessly come and endlessly go. It's going to be a beautiful venue. I took my wife there and my sister, and they had a blast. But, man, I don't know what they're going to do about that traffic.
Well, I'll tell you, you're going to open up your yard as parking spaces, get yourself a golf cart, and shuttle people. I think we just solved it for like 10 people.
Yeah.
How big your yard is.
Right. Absolutely. So I'm actually going to write your guys' marketing team. I would love to have y'all out on site. I have a beautiful property, overlooks the road. Different options we could do there. But I think it would be awesome. Y'all come out, call it like 104.5 pre-jam, and then just hang out, talk sports, and then watch all the people drive by. Maybe we can get some food trucks out. It'd be awesome.
Hey, I'm all for that, man. Just make it happen. Maybe we can do it before Greta Van Fleet. I need to get out to that show. I need to see those dudes.
Greta, and then on Saturday as well, I believe, right?
I've slept since the last time I've looked at any schedules, Chad. You'll have to hey,
no worries.
Hey, thank you for the call, brother. But that sounds
yeah.
great. We'd love to get out there sometime. Appreciate the call and appreciate the love. Certainly for the Hitman. All Titans fans know the Hitman.
No doubt.
All right. Titans fans know Taylor Lewan, too.
Yes, they do.
Pro players get injured. Blaine's talked about all of his surgeries before. It can be tough on that road coming back, right? It's tough for all of us to come back. It's tough for pro athletes, too. Some candid stuff today from Taylor Lewan on that.
I mean, there's a lot of things that I did. It's kind of when you don't really have a choice when it comes to an injury. You're either, there's days you get out of, wake up and you really don't want to do anything. It sucks. Getting out of bed sucks. You're in pain. Even when you're 3-4 months in, you're like, why the hell am I still feeling like this? And so, it's just kind of every day is a new day. You got to keep grinding forward. I had this book that I wrote in every single day of, what I want to accomplish, what I want to manifest, and then obviously what I'm grateful for. And those kind of things helps you reset. And there was definitely a lot of resetting because there was a lot of downs. And but this up, it just feels great to be out here talking to you guys. I've been looking forward to even speaking to y'all, and that's a bit of a weird deal.
Even speaking to the media. And Blaine, for anybody who wonders, though, how is his rehab going? He got asked about being ready for the first week of the season.
No, and these types of things, that we have a great training staff and our coaches, they have a great line of communication. For me, I'd love to be out there. I'd love to go take the plays, but they're integrating me slowly, and it's great to, know that they care and they're going to put me in the right position and not compromise anything going into the season. So, barring anything, there's going to be no issues. Week 1 is not going to be a problem. I feel great.
Week 1, no problem. He feels great. Hey, man, there's a preseason game tomorrow night, Blaine. We're going to be talking about NFL football being played by real people, even though it'll be like the Steelers and the Cowboys 4th string. NFL football tomorrow night.
Oh, it's 2nd and 3rd stringers?
See, we'll see some of them,
Some
too.
guys said, I'm trying to showcase my talents, man. What are you talking about? They are living for this, Mickey. Guess what? I may not be starting now, but guess what? Next year, I'm going to hit the lottery because I'm going to be starting after watching this game. After they watch me play.
And you know me, I'm sick. I will watch every play.
Better think that way if you're the backup.
No doubt.
Gotta believe.
Nick Foles, carve up the 3rd stringers. That's what he said. Yeah. We got to go. 3HL's about to carve up your afternoon drive home, though, from 3 to 6. We got to get it out of here, though. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, everybody.
Happy Wednesday. And as always, Mickey, peace.
Love Titans football. Actually, it's close to borderline obsessive, and well, we're okay with that. The Titans Station, 104.5.